This video is about the properties of parallel lines. In our last section, we talked about angle pairs that are formed by two lines and a transversal. In this section, we're looking at how those angle pairs are related when the two lines are parallel. You should know what these theorems are: the corresponding angles postulate, the alternate interior angles theorem, the same side interior angles theorem, and the alternate exterior angles theorem. You should also be able to prove these theorems and other theorems that use these theorems. Okay, the first is the corresponding angles postulate. Okay, if the lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so all it's saying is that when the lines are parallel, then the angles that are corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, make sure in your notes, if you're writing with a pencil or a pen that's all the same color, that you have a good way of marking, which angles are corresponding angles. Okay, one more thing to point out is that this is a postulate, which means we take it to be true without requiring a proof. Okay, the other three are theorems, and we can prove the others by using this one, but this first one we'll take as a postulate. Okay, the next one, the alternate interior angles theorem. If the lines are parallel, then the alternate interior angles are congruent. Make sure both of these are in your notes. They're really important. The next one, the same side interior angles theorem. If the lines are parallel, then the same side interior angles are supplementary. That's when it's a little bit different than the others. It's supplementary, not congruent. And the last one, the alternate exterior angles theorem. If the lines are parallel, then the alternate exterior angles are congruent. Make sure these two are in your notes. Let's actually use those. Find the measures of the missing angles and explain why. Okay, I'm trying to find this angle, and I know this angle is 120. Now, how are those two angles related? Let's see here. They are alternate exterior angles, and the alternate exterior angles theorem says that those two angles are congruent. So this must also be 120 by the alternate exterior angles theorem. All right, the second one. I want to find this angle, and I know that this one corresponds with that one. And the corresponding angles postulate says that these two angles are congruent. So it's also 145 by the corresponding angles postulate. Okay? Next, what are the measures of angles 3 and 4? Which theorem or postulate justifies each answer? Okay, now I know that this angle right here is 105. That's the key to this problem. Angle 3 and that angle are alternate interior angles, and the alternate interior angles theorem says that they're congruent. This is also 105 by the alternate interior angles theorem. Okay, and angle 4 and 105 are same side interior angles, and same side interior angles are not congruent. They're supplementary. Make sure you know that that's the one that's different. So 180 minus 105 is 75, so it's 75 degrees by the same side interior angles theorem. Okay, let's transition from those theorems and using them to proving them. Okay, we will always start with our given, and we'll use deductive reasoning to explain why this statement is always true. This is our end. Okay, so let's talk about why angles 4 and 6, why are they always congruent? Now, I know you want to say it's because of the alternate interior angles theorem, and that's true, but the problem is that that's what we're proving right now, and so we can't use that in our proof. The one that we can use is the corresponding angles postulate, so make sure that we use that one in our proof. Okay. The other thing that they've helped us out with is labeling angle 2. Okay, angle 2 is a really important angle in this proof. Okay, so which angles here are corresponding angles? Well, angles 2 and 6. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 6 because they're corresponding angles. Angles postulate. Okay, that's what that tells us. Okay, now can we get anything else from that statement that angles 2 and 6 are congruent? We can know that the angle measures are equal, but that doesn't really help us get to where we want to go. So let's look back at the diagram. What else does the diagram tell us? Well, since I can't go this way, I'm proving that, I can go this way. How are angles 2 and 4 related? Well, they're vertical angles, and we proved in our last chapter that vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so I know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because of the vertical angles theorem. Okay, and those two statements I can use. Now, since 6 is congruent to 2 and 4 is congruent to 2, by the transitivity property that we learned about back last chapter, I know that angle 4 must be congruent to angle 6 by the transitivity property. Of congruence. Okay, I hope that proof makes sense. The other proofs are very similar to this one, and we'll look at one more next, but we're using parallel lines, the corresponding angles postulate, we're using some vertical angles, and then using the transitivity property to finish it off. Okay, the last proof is given that lines A and B are parallel, to prove that angles 1 and 8 are supplementary. Okay, so this is our starting point, and we're trying to get down to our prove statement. Now, this is not one of our 3 theorems and a postulate, so I'm going to assume that we've proven all the other theorems to be true. We can use any of them in this proof. Okay, we will start with angles A and B being parallel. Okay, now what does that tell us? Well, I'll start with angle 1 because I want to use angle 1 and get to angle 8. So angle 1 I know is congruent to angle 5 because they're corresponding angles. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5 because of the corresponding angles postulate. Okay, and it is true that angles 5 and 6 are vertical angles, but that doesn't help me get to angle 8. Now, what I do know about angles 5 and 8 is that they are supplementary because they're a linear pair. So I know that the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 8 is equal to 180 because they're a linear pair. Okay, now how does that help me? Well, what I can do is, since angles 1 and 5 are congruent, I could plug in angle 1 in for angle 5 because they're congruent. Okay, if I do that, then I get that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 8 is equal to 180. Okay, and I'm using substitution there. Okay, and this is exactly what I'm trying to prove, that angles, so angle 1 and angle 8 are supplementary. Okay, and that is explaining why angles 1 and 8 are always supplementary. So this video was about properties of parallel lines, how angle pairs are related when the two lines are congruent. Sorry, when the two lines are parallel. Okay, you should know what this postulate and these three theorems are, and hopefully are able to prove some theorems using these theorems.